Good evening, everybody. Thanks for taking time to be with us for session 7. It is the last of our big picture Year of the Artist overview conversations. We've been going for 7 weeks now on Tuesday nights. These are all recorded and available at roanokearts.org. And tonight we're really going to focus, continue last week's conversation and focus on the artist in residence opportunities that will be posted probably tomorrow morning once we get all these discussed. And we've got some guests tonight, a couple of guests. I think we're going to have more pop on. Oh yeah, I see. There's Michael. Thanks for being here, Michael. All right. And before we do that, I'll just run over our agenda. And we're going to do, as we always do, our call for inspiration and reflections or learnings. So everybody think about what you did over the past week and experiences you've had. And if you've had anything that kind of further amplifies what we've been discussing or just as inspiring or other folks might want to know, you'll have an opportunity to share that with us. And then we're going to dive into the artists in residence opportunities. So we've got Berglund Center, Eureka Park improvements. I think Chris Roberts is going to be on with the Gun Violence Commission. He's been super busy. So I know there's a possibility he might not be able to pop on. Aisha Johnson, or might be possible that Mark Nelson's coming on, but I know they have another thing happening as well. If not, I'll talk about that a little bit. And then Abby Hamilton with United Way, talking about the neighborhoods of opportunity. And then we'll do a little catch-up Q&A as well. And so again, with the Year of the Artist, our what we're trying to do, what we're going to do is advance community goals. We are going to integrate artists in civic problem solving. We're going to explore and experiment together. And we're going to pay artists for their creative thinking and their work. We're going to strengthen the network of artists in the community. I think that's going to be a big outcome of this. We're going to connect with each other and connect different parts of the community. Most importantly, very importantly, we're going to have fun. And we talked about that sense of play. We got Michael Clark on here too. So that's a terrific word to use, of play Roanoke. So kind of engage in that sense of play, exploration, as we build a learning community together and very thoughtfully and consciously look at what we're trying to do, how it's working. We're all doing new things in this, and that's kind of the exciting part of it. And it's okay that we don't know how to do it right the first time necessarily. I think we're going to do plenty of things right, but we're going to learn along the way, and we're going to be a better, stronger community because of it afterwards. And this weekend we had Roanoke Arts Pop, and there's Amanda Vance down at the bottom right-hand side with Simone Patterson. I'm not sure if Simone's on yet or not, but they were able to swing by. I got to meet, Lucy's here. I got to meet Lucy this weekend. We had a terrific turnout at the Arts Pop. We were there as the Roanoke Arts Commission along with the Roanoke Cultural Endowment. And we got at least 200 family names or family email addresses who came through. And we had a giant wheel that we were able to spin. And the students at Rotech made the big wheel for us, which is terrific. It was a lot of fun. It was amazing. The kids, just when they saw the wheel, they came right toward it and drug their parents along with them. And so there were over 26 organizations participated, arts and cultural organizations. There was, I know that you can't have reptiles at the United Way, Abby, but they had a snake from Mill Mountain Zoo there at the museum. And it was a terrific week. But this is also part of what we're trying to do over the next year or more as we explore how we're doing more with arts and culture in the community and how it's adding up and doing as much as possible. We're preparing to do our next arts and cultural plan, and the experimentation of artists in this realm of civic problem solving is a key aspect of that. And I presented to council yesterday, and I told them that. I said, we may not have officially said that we are starting our planning process for the arts and cultural plan, but this the work that the artists are doing through these programs is going to help us shape and help us tell ourselves what arts and culture can do in the community. So those were some of my catch up from the past week. Does anybody have any inspiration, any reflections, anything they want to share with the group? Just, we're a pretty small group, so you can raise your hand, or you can probably even unmute and just pop on. Mike, do you have something? I wasn't putting you on the spot. I just saw that you were.
Oh no, yeah, I unmuted myself for that reason. I was looking for how do I raise my hand, and then you called me out. It's all good. Catherine Devine has invited me on to do a project with the Mill Mountain Zoo. She knows my work as a theater artist and songwriter and goofball, and us meeting and figuring out how to tell a story, the sort of playful aspect of her work and whatnot, the way things sort of cross pollinate for both of us has been really good. But it's all done, and she and I talked about this over tea. Has to be done with a sense of joy and playfulness, and more than anything else, because it's really easy, I think, sometimes to get uptight about making sure that we do things the right way, particularly when we're trying anything kind of outside of our wheelhouse. And that sense of play and that sense of joy needs to stay. And I think we need to remind each other of that on a regular. Them's my thoughts.
Yeah, them's good thoughts. Thank you, Mike. That's, I think, and you hit it. It's so easy to lose sight of that. I was talking to somebody about something very simple the other day, and it was riding the bus. And they said first she said she didn't want to put her bicycle on the bus because everybody was going to be watching her trying to put the bicycle on the bus. And someone else said, well, I don't even want to ride the bus because I've never done it before, and I don't know how to pay. And these were people in Richmond, actually, that I was talking with. And you don't even have to pay when you get on. You literally just get on this one transit system. You don't have to do anything. But that sense that everyone's watching you, that you've never done it before, and that you're somehow going to embarrass yourself or do it wrong, just prevents them from even trying something new. But yeah, what if it's fun? What if we were able to kind of laugh at it a little bit and engage in a different way? And we might have to remind each other about that. Yeah. Anyone else? I will ask. Oh, hey, Polly, is that Joe?
Well, can you hear me?
Sure can.
I always have something to say, I guess, but participatory activities are wonderful, especially for kids. And so at the Arts Pop, it was delightful to have kids come up and participate and learn about our little display with Community Arts Reach. And I might also mention the group that meets underneath the Memorial Bridge on Sunday mornings has just a blast in a kind of a Sunday morning bliss out improvisational moments together. And so it's really enriching to me personally, and I can tell in the eyes of others that participatory aspect is just really, really great, really important.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching or seeing on social media the folks who have been down there doing different things under the bridge. And it was a couple of years ago where we partnered with Parks and Recreation and Polly, you worked on the sandbox under there, and that really it's doing what it's intended to do. And the space doesn't do it on its own. It's you inviting people there to make them feel comfortable there. Some folks will do it on their own, but it's amazing the things that we think we have to ask permission to do sometimes. And I think Dan's on the call. Dan painted with some of his students, painted the murals there. And I do think those murals really, they invite you to experience that place differently, to get closer and to feel like you belong there. So thank you. These are important projects. Any last comment or reflection? All right. Well, then we'll slide on. And our next call, the one that we're continuing on, the Artists in Residences, is part 2. And again, last week we heard from the Complete Streets team and Roanoke Valley Sister Cities. And I know some of you are thinking about that opportunity. And then we're going to continue the conversation tonight. And just so that you can see everybody's names, because I'm very visual, I'm going to slide through their nameplate so you can see their names. And then after we do this, I'm going to turn this part off so we can see each other even better. And so these are some of the projects we'll talk about. We'll run through who's here, and then I'll fill in the blanks for the folks who weren't able to make it tonight. And then with that, I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, Robin, I've got you listed first, and we can do this pretty informally. I'll ask you a few questions if that's okay, and you can just fill in the blanks. But first, we'd love to hear a little bit, just what is Berglund Center, and how do you see your work in the community?
So we just celebrated, and I'm putting that in air quotes, celebrated 50 years of being here. Last year, unfortunately, COVID took away the opportunities that we had planned to celebrate. But we were also trying to be sensitive to how we celebrate, because I don't know if you all are aware, I'm sure many of you are, but the history of this property is a little bit, it's kind of ugly, actually. I've been here 24 years, and I was probably here, I don't know, more than 5 years before someone told me a little bit of the history, because I love history, but I started digging in a little bit, and it was upsetting, because this venue that I love and I'm so proud of, its genesis was not so bragatory, right? So now that we're 50, I did approach city administration with some ideas, because over the years, some of the elders in the Gainsboro neighborhood have popped in every now and then, and why did you close that gate back there, and why are you doing this? And you have to walk them through the safety issues and the health issues and the financial issues, and they finally get it, but always trying to be sensitive to who they are and where they came from and their relationship to this property. And as time has gone on, I've felt that more deeply than ever. This past year, we applied for the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant through the Small Business Administration, and we were awarded a nice chunk of change. And that change is really for some maintenance. It's to be used to bring more talent to the venue so that we keep people working. It's to put artists back to work and stagehands back to work, et cetera, et cetera. So given where we are, this was the prime opportunity to put together some of the ideas that I had over the years and present it to Bob Cowell and to Clarence Greer, who's my direct supervisor, about bridging the relationship between the Gainsboro neighborhood and Berglund Center. And so if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen real quick. It's not fancy, I'm just going to tell you, and I just learned how to do this. So if I crash the internet, I'm just going to leave out of embarrassment.
Okay, I am making you host.
Okay.
Okay, so you're now the host.
Okay, and let's see here. There we go. Okay, and I want to share the whole screen. I'm just trying to figure out how to do that. I want to show the slideshow. Does anybody know how to do that?
Yeah, if you go down to the very bottom.
Yeah.
To the right-hand side.
Yeah.
You'll see there are some icons, and right before you get to this, okay, yeah, just go down to the left, right. There's one that looks like a slide screen, and just hit that one. So you see.
I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just like totally inept at this stuff.
Okay, you're really close to it now. So to the right.
To the right.
To the right. There you go. There's a negative. You'll see the slider has a positive on one side, the negative on the other side.
Okay,
To the left, there you go. To the left of the negative, hit that little icon that's right below your cursor.
to the left, it just says exit tray.
Okay, you see something different than I do.
Yeah.
I think we can all see it though.
Yeah, I'm not gonna waste your time on this. So let me just show you a little bit about this. So what I'm calling this urban renewal in Berglund Center. Just trying to build a bridge between, and this is a lot of alliteration, building a bridge between Gainsborough neighborhood and Berglund Center for a better, brighter tomorrow. And I've met with one of the elders and Jordan Bell, whom probably everybody knows, to discuss some of the ideas that we came up with. So here's the old Gainsborough neighborhood, the old Northeast neighborhood, a great part of it. And right here, where I'm pointing my cursor, that is now where the Coliseum sits. Here's where the Performing Arts Theater sits. Here's the Special Event Center, and these are our parking lots. And if you look right here, just south of the theater, you'll notice some homes there. And God bless the people who held out on this urban renewal, relocation travesty, because there were 3 homes remaining here when Berglund Center was built. So I'll show them to you. Right here are some homes that remained. The post office would have been over here. Here would have been McDonald's. You guys can see what I'm talking about. Special Event Center didn't even exist yet, and you can see the parking lot wasn't paved. But these homes right here, one of them belonged to a Mrs. Kathleen Ross, who has passed away, but her family's still around, and we're hoping to get them involved in some of these projects. Right here is, and I don't share this with a whole lot of people because I don't want people to come out and vandal the whole place, do any vandalism. But this is a blue spruce that sits on the south side of what we call parking lot C, which is on the downtown side of the theater. And this is the last living relic of anything that belonged to the old Northeast neighborhood on our property, which is about 12 acres of land here. I don't even let the landscapers weed eat around it because I'm afraid that they're going to hurt it. It's in really good shape right now. We do mulch around it. And that brings me to this place, and I'll come back to this in a minute. But when you come under the bypass from the Greenway, we had started to call that the Walker Avenue Gateway. It's not technically Walker Avenue, but the architect with the city some 20 years ago called it Walker Avenue. And to me, this is a concrete canvas. So when you come underneath the bridge, this is the first thing you see. And I would love, love, love to see a mural painted all across this wall that shows in bright colors and evokes emotion of the neighborhood that used to be here, the church, the gas station, the cemetery, the homes, the school, the whole 9 yards from left to right, just showing what this neighborhood used to look like. One of the other things that we're going to be doing with the neighborhood is, this is Parlor A in Berglund Hall. This is Parlor B in Berglund Hall. And this is Parlor C in Berglund Hall. And we want to rename these from parlors to the such and such a room. For example, Ms. Ross had the last home on this property, and if we called one of them the Ross Room, I would turn cartwheels down 581, because we want to do something to memorialize and honor the people who treasured this property and had a life here long before we did. So we're going to present this to the elders in the neighborhood along with the mural project to get neighborhood input. And finally, one of the last things we want to do is, if you're standing on our plaza looking to, McDonald's is over here, Magic City Ford's here. There's a plaque here dedicated to, one of them is the mayor who was in town of Roanoke at the time the place was built. I believe his name was Hearst. But I have a wall here and a wall here, or space here, or space here. I would love to put a commemorative plaque here that goes back to the slide number 1 that shows where you are, so that people coming up on the plaza say, oh, I'm standing right here in this part of the old Northeast neighborhood. This is where I am. And have a little history, a few paragraphs to say what happened during urban renewal and what happened to bring Berglund Center to fruition. And then over here, a memorial to some of the businesses that were here. I know that Councilwoman Trish White Boyd wants to do something to memorialize a couple of business owners that she knew at the time. But I think even if we're in year 51 of the history of this building, it is not too late to reach across the road and to say, I'm sorry. I know that we could probably apologize from now to kingdom come, and that will resonate with some people and it won't with others. But we've only been talking about it for years, and we've never put action into words, or words into action, I should say. And as I've told Bob Cowell, it's time to pull the rug back and get the skeletons and the dust bunnies out, because the only way we're going to improve race relations is to actually have a conversation about it. And it might be uncomfortable, but who cares? I mean, it's got to be done. And I think that sort of going through these projects that we want to do is sort of giving back this property in a strange way to the people that it belonged to in the first place. So that we're saying we don't forget, we haven't forgotten, and moving forward over the next 50 years, the Gainsborough neighborhood will be recognized and a part of the whole thing. So I connected with Doug, and we'll go back to this concrete canvas. And this is what brings us and our interest into the Artist in Residence program, because we would like to find an artist who will listen to the elders and with some input from us. But obviously, look, I'm a white woman and I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. I shouldn't have a whole lot of say in what gets painted on this wall, but I do have some passion about how it's depicted. And we're going to use some of our grant funds to actually fund the artist and the materials to make that happen. Sorry, that was the long-winded version. If I could have got my PowerPoint to work, I probably would have wrapped this up faster. But I am open for questions or comments or thoughts on what we hope we're going to do with this project.
And you can stop your share, and that'll pull all of our faces back up.
There we
you
go.
go. Yeah. Any questions for Robin, or even comments and observations?
Well, if you think of anything, my email's address is really easy, robin.sean@roanoke.va.gov, or you can go through Doug to get to me. I believe Bob Cowell is arranging a meeting with the elders in the next couple of weeks so that we can get this project off the ground and start moving forward.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is the time span that you're looking for in terms of beginning the project and ending the project? Do you have a time span in mind?
Yes. So my grant restrictions are a little tight. So I have to have an artist contract executed before June 30th. And if I'm going to buy the materials, I have to have them purchased before June 30th. The project has to be complete before January 31st of 2023. So if we get this going and we can assign something, say in May or June, we have an artist ready to go, they'll have a few good months of nice weather outside to start the project, and then a few months to continue and, you know, do the touch-ups and all that good stuff. I'm not sure quite how that process works, but January 31st, it has to be completed. And I'm very excited about that because I'd love to do a dedication ceremony in Black History Month in 2023. And thanks for the nice comments you guys have made here. I'm very passionate about this. It's been in my heart for a really long time, and I now have the resources to make it happen. And city administration's being very supportive. So I too, I missed the back gate being open. Yeah, sorry, that's a safety issue back there. We've almost had some people creamed coming around that corner because people fly through there. So, but this is very important. Thank you. And I hope you guys will be a part of it in some kind of way. And when we announce the dedication, come on out and see what we've got going on. And it'll be a nice touch too for people who use the Greenway back there. You know, the lighting's pretty good. We're still addressing some of the homeless issues, as is everybody downtown, to try to keep the place clean, and hopefully working with VDOT to get a little bit more lighting under that bridge. But at the end of the day, we'll have a beautiful mural and a great memoriam to the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I'll circle back too. We've over the past few weeks we've talked about the role, the unique role that art can play. We've talked about the the role of listening and relationship building, which is key and critical here. The role of agency, encouraging voices at the table who feel that have not been welcomed at the table or have not felt that like they've been heard, and there are many reasons for that. We haven't talked as much about trust, but trust is critical. And when you think about the give and take that has to happen as you build trust, and you've got to, you make promises and you deliver, and you do that over and over again, and you do it on both sides, and you work through misunderstandings, and that's the only way, through the relationships to build trust. And I think a lot of what it boils down to with the city is trust with constituents, trust in the community. And I can just imagine that this can be a real big trust builder as well. And so I think that timeline seems fine. And I think that, because there's a whole lot you can do by, you get the artist under contract, and the artist can still be listening and building relationships and helping to facilitate a process and have the supplies already picked out in a way, because how much paint you're going to need. You probably, most artists have a palette they work within. And then it's a matter of creating that process that engages the community, listens to the community, is co-created with the community. And that's really that kind of process we hope to get, especially out of the artist in residence. And so I think that was a terrific foundation, Robin. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I know there's a lot of interest in this project. I will ask if you'll make me back the co-host again. I think Zoom doesn't let us share that. So in case you have to pop off, that I'm still on. I'll tell you how to do it.
Okay.
Look at participants.
Participants. Yep. Got it.
Click that button. It should give you a list.
Yep.
Then you'll find me on that list, and they'll say mute, or it'll say more. If you pull the arrow down under more, you can make me the host.
Are you under city of Roanoke?
City of Roanoke. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. So I hit what, more?
Yep, hit more, and then you can make me the co-host. I forgot I have an alias tonight.
Are you there?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Perfect. I'm the host. You just did it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. So we'll roll right from that, and we'll head over to Michael Clark, and we'll hear about Eureka Park. And Michael, do you need me to ask any questions, or are you ready to roll with it?
If you've got questions to ask, that would be great.
Well, sure.
But I'm happy just to talk about it.
Okay, I'll ask you a couple of questions, and then that'll serve as a launching point for you.
Sure.
So what's the mission of Parks and Recreation? What are you working toward?
Our mission is to build a welcoming community through play. It's pretty simple and straightforward. We developed that when we were developing our master plan back in 2018, 2019. Before then, we had a mission that was like a paragraph long, and it was something about best in class and premier facilities and a lot of stuff that I don't remember. So we wanted to make it succinct so that when you ask anybody in the department what their job is to build a welcoming community through play. Now, their tasks may be different. The tasks may be emptying trash or cleaning a restroom or running a basketball league, but our job is to build a welcoming community through play.
I love it. And you just said it like 4 times. So even we've started to get that built in now. We're internalizing it, building a welcoming community through play. Yeah. And then what would the community look like without its parks, or what would a community be without its parks and
Well, it would be a place that nobody would want to live in, for starters. I feel like we play a major role in what makes a community livable. And certainly through the pandemic, having the availability of parks and open spaces was critical to not just physical health, but emotional, mental health, and your own sanity to be able to get out and still connect while everybody was locked down. It's a story that we've been preaching for years. It just took a global pandemic for everybody else to hear it.
Mhm. And then specifically in neighborhoods, what's the role of a neighborhood park? How do you see that? How do you see those functioning?
Yeah, well, they function as social gathering places. A place to not just connect with the outdoors, but to connect with neighbors, connect with one another, connect with your own family members. I use my own house as an example. I bought my house in 2007 for the proximity to Murray Run Greenway and Woodlawn Natural Reserve first, and the house second. The house I could do without. I've had to do a lot of work to the house, but there are only so many places that I could get that close to a park where my kids and I can go out and ride our bikes on the trail, or go right down the trail to Fishburne Park. And that's what made it desirable. That's why we chose the place that we did.
Terrific. Now we've listed Eureka Park as a potential project. Tell us what's happening with that.
So it's pretty exciting. For those of you all that are familiar with our park system, we have a fairly dated park system. Our oldest parks date back to 1906. Our department was created in 1914. So we're a pretty well established department and agency here in the city. And our rec centers are no different. Our newest rec center was built in 1965. Our newest, not our oldest, our newest recreation center was built in 1965, and that's Eureka. And through the development of our most recent master plan, we've made a commitment to redevelop those recreation centers. And the one that we're starting with is Eureka Center. Right now, Eureka sits in Northwest Roanoke. It's on 14th Street and Carroll Avenue. It's about 11,000 square feet, which is mostly a gym, a basketball court with a small community room and some office space attached to it. But it was pretty typical of the time, when rec centers and community centers were built, back in the 50s and 60s. They were, this would have been considered a fairly larger center at the time. So fairly typical, but not modern. It doesn't meet the modern needs of recreational programming and what folks are looking for. So we've made a commitment to redevelop that center into something really special. And fortunately, through ARPA, we've been allocated $8 million to renovate this facility. So that's as a department, we've made a commitment to incorporate public art into as much as we can, certainly with the redevelopment of facilities. So we felt like this was an opportunity to engage our community in some pretty cool public art for the rec center.
So do you have any preconceptions of what that public art is, or is it wide open?
Yeah, well, we do. Doug had shared with me this really cool concept that someone had done on a basketball court. And I shared it with our fantastic planning and development coordinator, Katie Slusher, who just started with us over the summer. She's been an excellent addition to the department. She spent a lot of time working in Cleveland, working with a collaborative design center that is part of Kent State University. And as a part of that, she would work in some disadvantaged neighborhoods, helping create public spaces, parks and playgrounds and those type of things where young people were a part of the process. They got to help pick out the amenities in the park, what colors the playgrounds were, all kinds of things. And one of the things that she shared was something very similar to what Doug was talking about, where people had taken a basketball court and turned the whole thing into a mural. And if I can, I've got a short video that I can play if I can share my screen.
You can. In fact, I have just made you the host.
I'm the host now.
You are.
All right. So here we are. So I'll play this. It's about a minute long.
Did you want sound on it?
Can you hear it or no?
No, you might have to stop your share and you might have to click a separate button for the sound.
Okay. Well, fortunately, nobody's talking, so
Okay.
we can just watch it. Okay, so let me go back. Oh. There. So you can kind of see there what the finished product was, that they took, one multi-purpose sport court on the left there, and then a basketball court on the right, and painted a mural. So, as a part of this redevelopment project that we're doing with the rec center, unfortunately, the building itself is going to be torn down, and we're going to build a brand new center. So, as a part of that, we'll have to rearrange some of the current amenities that are there. And one of the things that we would like to do is, in place of the rec center where it sits today, put in 2 new basketball courts or some type of sport court there. So following the construction of the new center, then the demolition of the old one, and then rebuilding those outdoor basketball courts, we can incorporate, a community themed mural on those basketball courts. And that's one particular idea. And of course, we're open to other suggestions as a part of that project.
So I've got a couple questions, but any questions for Michael? Or any thoughts? Somebody asked the question, was it funded through Project Backboard, which funds those kinds of projects around the country?
I'm not sure, but I can find out.
And there's the, we talk a lot about engaging artists in the planning process earlier rather than later. So a lot of times it's one thing to come in, say you've got which is what we often do, you paint a surface that's been there for a long time, and try and make it look better. And sometimes, like for something like this, there's a process where the color gets incorporated, when it's being designed, it can last a lot longer and such. And they've got, you'll have a top-notch team designing this facility, right, Michael?
Correct. Yeah.
Where will they be from?
Well, we don't know yet. So we're about to go out to bid for design, and we've been working with a local architecture firm, Spectrum Design, and a national Parks and Recreation consulting firm to do a business plan and facility analysis of all of the things that we have now. It's just that project is taking longer than we'd like, and so we're up against the deadline to spend the ARPA money. So we have to get going on this. So construction of this facility from design to cutting the ribbon is probably going to be about a 2-year process. We're taking what is now an 11,000 square foot facility, and we're building a 30,000 square foot facility. So we're tripling the size of the rec center. So it's gonna take some time to get that, but yeah, we'll be hiring a design firm here, hopefully in the next couple months. And I see Polly ask, are you keeping the big oak trees in the current playground? Yes, we are. When we did community outreach to the neighborhood about the redevelopment of the center, what I was most surprised about was that there was no real connection to the building itself. Nearly everybody we talked to said, tear it down, build a new one. Just don't change the park. There was such a strong connection to that park. And if you've never been to Eureka, it is one of the most gorgeous parks that we have in the park system. There are tons of old growth trees. It is just a beautiful park in the heart of the city. And we're going to preserve as many of those trees as possible. So right now, what we're looking at is right around where the baseball field is, and then the current basketball court. We're looking in that area to build the center, and that disrupts the least amount of land and trees through there. So
Great. And Polly says, "Yay!" Yeah. And so then there's the timeline. If you've got to if we get an artist in residence selected, there'll be shifting timelines, as there always are with these projects. You'll have a professional team that's working. How do you see that potentially? How do you see the artist potentially working on the ground while you've got those professional teams working?
Well, I think it's important to get in early so that we can have some of these conversations ahead of time before we get too far down the road and then try to shoehorn something in when it doesn't really fit, So once we select a design firm and we talk about expectations and things we want to see in the center, and I think at that point, that's when we would want to have an artist involved to start working through the process, whether it's the outdoor court or something on the inside of the center or on the exterior, on the building itself. Whatever we land on, I would want those conversations to be had, on the front end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love the fact that you referenced the input that you've already gotten from the community. And I imagine that's pretty important to you all every step of the way. Is there'll be a lot of excitement. They'll lose their basketball court for a while. That's that's a little bit of a bummer, but you got something coming along. And I would imagine there would be lots of opportunities to engage families and youth and other residents in the neighborhood in workshops that kind of lead into the design elements, or even kind of helping to communicate what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one of the things that we have made the commitment to is keeping the existing center up and running throughout the duration of the construction. So
that's great. They don't even lose a basketball court.
They won't lose the indoor basketball court. They'll lose the outdoor basketball court for just a short period. But we don't want any disruption in service for our after school program or any of our community-based programs that we have at the center. So that way we can make a seamless transition into the new center and then tear the old one down and then put something back in its place. So the other good thing is we are this spring we'll be reinvesting in the basketball courts at Melrose Park, which is very close to Eureka Park. So there'll be some outdoor spaces for people to play. And we're also, we just finished redoing the outdoor courts at Washington Park, which is also fairly close to Eureka. So we have 3 new basketball courts on the upper part of Washington and 2 resurfaced courts. So 5 outdoor basketball courts for folks to use, certainly while we do the construction at Eureka and well beyond after that.
Great. Any other questions for Michael? All right, Michael, you can if you're gonna, in case you have to hop off, you can make me the host again.
Yep. Yep. You're the host.
And I might have to pass it right along to Abby. I'm not sure if Abby's going to have a presentation or not. Abby, do you need to be the host?
No, I'm like, now I feel like a total chump. I don't have any show and tell.
No. No, that's great. Abby, I appreciate you being here. United Way is an important partner for the city in countless ways. But one project that they're leading us on is the Neighborhoods of Opportunity project. So Abby, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Before I do that, let me just say this, I have a deep appreciation for the creatives that are in this space right now. Let me tell you how much I am grateful for the genius that you all bring to this community and how much better our community is because you are here. And then I also made me think about, I'm a native of the Philippines. And one of the things that I kind of thought about as I was listening to Robin and Michael was, in the Philippines, artists were instrumental in starting a movement and firing a revolution that brought about the independence of the country. So I firmly believe that the artists that are part of this conversation now and that will be part of Neighborhoods of Opportunity will have that opportunity to spark a movement in these two neighborhoods. So how's that for a little sales pitch?
It's perfect, and I have to hop in. And if Jane's able to unmute for a second and tell us her one of her favorite quotes, it'll reinforce that. Hey
Hello.
Jane, what's that Tony Cade Bambara quote?
The role of the artist is to make revolution irresistible.
Amen to that.
Yes.
I am right with you. So I would categorize Neighborhoods of Opportunity as a revolution that the City of Roanoke, Carillion, and United Way have been leading and challenging other nonprofits and organizations serving in the Northwest and Southeast neighborhoods of the City of Roanoke. As you all are aware of, these are the areas where the highest disparities of health outcomes exist. And for years, a lot of nonprofits have had a special interest in doing programming there, offering services. And Neighborhoods of Opportunity is a way for us to be able to work together, not just to improve the health outcomes in those areas, but actually to shift the power back to the people who are residents in those neighborhoods. It's very akin to what Robin talked about in terms of what they're trying to do with Berglund Center and the efforts there. The city, I fully commend them for this. The city would like to make sure that we, one, raise leaders within those two neighborhoods that are then empowered to make decisions about what programs, what services, and what types of projects need to be in place to make this transformation happen. And so I'm glad that we in the people serving business get to be in listening mode for this project and really invest in making sure that the leadership in these neighborhoods that come about are not just only confined to city, committees or city projects, that they actually become embedded in different organizations where we need to have community voice. And so I'm totally excited about that possibility. So Neighborhoods of Opportunity will have, in partnership with artists and residents, will have an opportunity to kind of place two artists and residents as part of this grassroots leadership building opportunity. So you get to be two of those slots get to be filled by folks in this group. So what that means is you get to participate in a lot of leadership training along with folks in those neighborhoods. You get to go to the meetings that will be designed to kind of move people to a place of greater empowerment. And then you also get to interact with all of the nonprofits that have a vested interest in that. And then this is where the genius comes in, right? You as an artist get to express what that invokes in you, right? Whatever form it may take. You get to represent the vision of the community, what the work represents, or whatever floats your boat and whatever inspires you in the process of also developing you as a leader. So Doug, was I fair in saying that? Oh, I forgot to add that United Way is one of the hosts for our artists in residence. So you get to be part of the United Way team. Now, in addition to participating in these leadership training opportunities. And for those of you that didn't get to tune in, like we have dogs in the office, so you get free dog snuggles and you know, puppy tail wags while you're part of the team. Doug, did I miss anything?
No, I think that was terrific. If you want to talk a little bit, and we'll circle back to kind of the artists in residence, but if you'll circle back a little bit to the social determinants of health, and why are you focusing on these two neighborhoods? Yeah, maybe a little bit deeper there.
Sure. So for the longest time, I think I'm going to start back in 2012, where we had the first community health assessment that Carilion led. So community health assessments are a requirement for every nonprofit hospital. It's required by the IRS. And so they collect data about the communities that they serve. And that particular year, one of the things that came out or has been informing the kind of work is identifying what and where the greatest disparities exist within the city of Roanoke. And it just so happens that the Northwest and Southeast neighborhoods have among the worst health outcomes in terms, including the people that live in those neighborhoods live a lot shorter than everybody else in the city of Roanoke. And for many years, one of the strategies among the strategies that nonprofit service providers have had would be, you know, how do we increase healthcare access? How do we increase dental access, right? In an effort to see if the outcomes will improve. What we've learned over time is that health is not really just dictated by our access to healthcare services, but more importantly, 60% of what dictates our health is actually things like education, employment, poverty, you know, those kinds of things that we generally call social determinants of health. And so I think for those in the nonprofit space and in human service specifically, that kind of is the light bulb moment to say, hey, when we're designing and looking at ways to improve health outcomes within a given neighborhood, we need to not just look at access to services, but we need to look at these social determinants that impact how people are able or not able to access these services. How is the housing situation there? And so it allows us to be more holistic about the needs of individuals and families when we do that. So that's part of the transformation that has happened since 2012 and up until now. Wow, much like 10 years. For the last 10 years, you know, how do we address social determinants of health specifically within these two neighborhoods? And I would say that over the last 2 years, I guess, there is now a growing movement within also improving health, the work of improving health, saying that work around improving health cannot be done without truly empowering the people that is impacting that it has been impacted. So my favorite example of this is weight loss, right? So think about weight loss and how somebody else can give you all the diet, all the books, all of the tools. Your doctor can always tell you that you need to kind of lose weight, but unless the person themselves takes ownership of that and follows through, then the outcomes will not be seen. So think about that in terms of, we can pump in as many programs as we want into these two neighborhoods, but unless we empower the people that are there and give them a space at the table where they get to dictate and have agency, right, over what happens, then we'll never really see true and lasting outcomes. So I'm excited that the city's taking this direction, and we at United Way are incredibly thrilled that we get to host one of the artists that will be going through this leadership training as well.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about, you know, during these weeks about process and product and how important the process is. And you may, you know, some of these projects that there'll be a product there at the end, but that process is going to be, and you might not even know at the moment. You might not know who's engaging with it, who there in the neighborhood or in the community is really, really growing through that process, in conjunction with the leadership training that they're doing. And yeah, can all be transformative. And we're recording these calls, and there are a lot more folks who are tracking this process and are looking at these opportunities as well than are on the call. And I anticipate you're going to have a lot of interest in it. Now, it's gonna be tough. Some of these are gonna be tough because we're paying you like $500 a month, for a year, and we give you a little bit of money, $30,000 to do a project. Now, when you get involved with a group like United Way, and all these opportunities come about, you're going to see transformation and growth opportunities for yourself. And you'll be like, well, I've got to decide, which meetings I can go to and how. And some things it might be worth, spending some extra time.
Yeah.
And who knows? The conversations we've already had, I know that people on the call are, you're artists, you're change makers, you're creative, you care about the community, you're curious, you're trying to figure out how things work. So, and we're trying to create a cohort, of course, across those artists who are selected as the artists in residence. Now, there's going to be that really tight natural cohort of the two who are going to be attached to the United Way under this as well. Any questions for Abby? Well, I'm excited about all of the positions. I'm excited to see who ends up applying and who ends up getting selected, and then I'm looking forward to growing alongside the artists in residence. And like I said, we presented this to council yesterday. I know, and Bob Cow told me, he said, you're going to be hearing a lot more about this, so be ready. Catherine.
Okay, so I do have a question about working with these specific needs of these specific neighborhoods. And one of the things I think that is the artist in residence expected to be living in those neighborhoods?
It's a great question. What do you think, Abby?
Well, I think it would be great. It would be ideal if that were to happen, so that there's also kind of like that organic development and recognition of artists within that area. But I don't think it would necessarily exclude people.
I think like I said, it's a great question and something really important to consider. And I think it would be terrific if it's somebody from the neighborhood. If someone from the neighborhood doesn't apply, I think we're all looking at this. At least the vibe I've gotten from the group on the calls has been very supportive, and supportive of other artists, and supportive of the community. And I think if an artist is assigned to it, they're not from that neighborhood, and they're coming in it with a facilitative approach, with an eye open for talent. And I already know how some of these artists work. You're already going to be doing that anyway. So how are you encouraging, the same way Abby talked about the leadership model that they're going to be using? How are you encouraging, people, no matter what their age, no matter what their, where they're coming from in the community, no matter what their income level is, how are you helping them take the next step? And some of that is going to end up being it might be an artist. It might be the next Catherine Devine. It might be somebody who's ready to start the face painting career that's going to launch them into great things. Any other questions?
We have a question about the neighborhoods and kind of like the geography of these two target areas.
Oh yeah, sorry, I wasn't tracking that as well. Oh, yeah. So, real roughly, and this is really rough, in that there are quadrants in the community. Now, some people will look at those quadrants and say that's part of what holds us back, is that identification of quadrants. And it leads into one of our, like what our next conversation is going to be as well. So you've got whether it's South Jefferson Street or Jefferson Street as a divide. Is that the divider? I think it is. That divider, or Campbell Avenue that runs downtown. You've got quadrants that segregate us by race and income level. The Southeast is known as the railroad part of town. Lots of railroad employees live there, as is Northwest, parts of Northwest. There's also the viscose plant in Southeast, so it's very much working class roots. Northwest, of course, the core we heard about earlier with urban renewal, and then the African American population pushed further out along that Northwest axis. So, but they're broad, right? We have, the more that we grow and develop distinctive neighborhoods within that, the more the less we'll lose, or we'll lessen the effect of that Northwest, South, et cetera. And that's part of our next conversation on the model neighborhood development. But so like you heard, Old Southwest, South Roanoke, Grandin area, Raleigh Court, largely white, middle class, Southeast, Northwest, and then Northeast would be other fourth quadrant, which you don't hear as much about.
Yeah, the Northwest, if you look at it like from a map, you think about like Melrose, Orange, that section of town, and farther into where where the big Goodwill is on Melrose Avenue, that relative area. And then Southeast is you cross the bridge of 581 and on Elm, and then that's Southeast right before you get into Benton. That's kind of like my general GPS of how I think about it.
Yeah. I think that hits it. Now, and so we've got a couple of other. Well, I'll wait before I say that. We'll finish up this conversation, and then we'll flow right into that. Any other questions for Abby, specifically on the neighborhoods of opportunity? And this is an interesting one too, because these are kind of city artists in residence programs, but we've got partners who work with so closely. So these two will actually be with United Way as the host. And so when we talked about, I talked about the neighborhoods the neighborhoods and the quadrants, and being able to kind of break those apart with more vibrant neighborhood centers all throughout the city. And that's one additional artist in residence placement. Another one is the Gun Violence Commission. And Chris Roberts wasn't able to be on tonight, unless he's on and I don't see him. No, I don't think he's on. And so there's the Gun Violence Commission, and then the youth and gang violence team in the city. And we've got a lot of resources that are coming now to provide more activities for youth in the community. You heard Kyle Edgell talking about the Soul Box project, which the commission is interested in doing to honor victims of gun violence. And so Northwest is the area that's been most hit by the gun violence. So there'll be some crossover as well between the person who's working on the gun violence commission, that artists in residence will have some engagement, I'm sure, with the neighborhoods of opportunity artists in residence working in Northwest. And they just gave a big report. They're going to start reporting once a month at council. They're going to give a report on gun violence and what's happening. And they're giving out lots of grants to organizations doing more work. And we're going to work to have this position kind of, streamlined in there where they're going to have a big picture view, but be able to do their own project. And we've got they're really working across all the faith groups, who have spaces to do things. There's some others like kind of sites where we'll be able to do some projects or might be a home base for an artist in residence, but we'll have more on that soon as well. And I'll probably post something about that. You'll see in the call, but if we get another update, this is the last one of these organizing calls, but if we get an update, I'll get information out to you about that. And then that last one that I mentioned was the neighborhood development centers, neighborhood centers model development is the name of the program or the initiative. They're hiring a consultant out of Richmond to figure out how to make more Grandin Villages or Wasinas or Crystal Springs, and they're going to kind of create a toolkit in a way, and they're going to look at different neighborhoods, at different areas in the community that might be a fit for the city to make investments, and to encourage private investment, and because everybody, most people on the call probably can think pretty recently when Wasina was not what Wasina is now. There were buildings there, but before they did the River House, the Bloom wasn't there, the barbershop wasn't there, the R&D Coffee wasn't there, that center wasn't there. So we know that we can revive more areas like that. Now, this is probably kind of along the lines of that Complete Streets effort we heard about last week, where it might be a matter of how do we pop something up. There's a thing called tactical urbanism, or the Build a Better Block, where you can mock up things and do a little festival in an area to get people to see it differently. That might be the kind of strategy that an artist wants to take on with that neighborhood center model development effort. But as the consultant's not quite on board yet, so as soon as he comes on board, we'll talk with him about this, and we'll maybe I'll even do like a quick pop-up Zoom with him one time and put that word out to everybody and record it so people get a sense as well. Because it's nice to to meet Abby, for instance, and get a sense of what that project is from her. So it'd be nice to do the same thing with the others. And with that, I think that's largely it for now. Although I'm going to post our calls for this. I want to get those posted tomorrow probably. I'm also interested in how we continue to get the word out about the Year of the Artist. And so I'd like to build a little marketing team. If someone's interested in that, you'll see a call coming for me from that, where you just email me and tell me that you want to be part of it. I'm thinking about the little office I have down on Church Avenue, that we might want to create it into it's got great window space that we could put some things in the windows, and I've got some panels that can be painted, and we might want to have some fun with that. And I have a little money to pay artists to help us. I got a little marketing money, and that money should go to artists, I think. So I think we'll play with that some. And so expect to see more. I think the energy is going to keep building. I really appreciate you. The panel met today on the self-portrait call. I wish we could pay everybody to do the self-portrait. We're not going to be able to, but we've got other calls as well. And we had a terrific response to that. We'll let everybody know how that is, who's been selected for that, coming up soon once everything's reviewed. And then we're going to start the contracting process. And so Dan Keel can tell you what it's like to contract with the city. And that'll be a whole nother process. And then the other one is the panel is going to meet next week on the Southeast Greenway gateways. So look forward to hearing who gets selected for that as well. And thank you, everybody. I got to meet Lucy in person too, down at Arts Pop. I loved hearing about the projects you're thinking of for the Art Matters grants. And I looked at it tonight before popping on, and we had 9 submissions. And those are due at midnight tonight. So I bet I'll pop on tomorrow and there'll be a few more. So with that, thank you very much for your time tonight. Really appreciate you. And we look forward to continuing to build the Year of the Artist with you. And let me thank Abby for being here with us tonight. Thanks, Abby.
Thanks so much. This was fun.
I hang out with the artists more.
I know. I feel like I'm an artist when cool by association.
Oh, hey, Allie, it was good meeting you too. Yeah, I got to meet Allie at Arts Pop.